Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex. Have you ran out of biometrics in Marvel Future Fight? Do you need to farm as many biometrics as possible as fast as you can to build up that native tier 2, that native tier 3 hero, or even get those characters from level 70 to level 80? Well, have no fear. We're going to do an updated biometric farming guide right now. And as you can see in the background, that's exactly what I'm doing, baby. This is the best way, starting with the first one, to farm as many biometrics as possible as fast as you can. Now, the trade-off here, or the resource that you're going to be using up, is your time, obviously, in-game, and then your energy. It does cost energy to do this, but the rewards can be fantastic. Now, I've been doing a few runs here. This is the 6th or 7th run. I'll show you the totality of my rewards doing the 7 runs, but as you can see, well, okay, no, not from those drops. So in 6 runs, I was able to get a 29 bios of Kingpin, as well as some other stuff here. But it's really those bios there, 30 bios. So obviously, this is a less effective way of farming if you don't have a lot of energy. But you can certainly save up, and you can, decline farming other game modes. And you can save 1, 2, 3, 400 energy every single day. So you can still chuck 10, 20, 30 minutes of your day farming at this to get on average about 7 biometrics per run. In this case, this is more like 5 biometrics per run, over and over and over again. And so that stage there, for those of you that didn't catch it, is 7-3. So you just go into the Dimensional Clash Ultimate, you go to 7-3. You don't choose the, for the very first run, you can choose the, the use designated characters. You can go here and you can check this and press start. Absolutely, to try to get your fragment, right? But then after that, if you just want to farm bios as much as you can, this is the shortest stage. So you want to just set up a team. So for example, I use my Rift farming team, my Dispatch farm, not my Dispatch farming team, but my Rift farming team with Rogue there. And then I just go over and over and over again. Make sure you set the dealer to the correct character so it doesn't queue into the leadership or whatever. And then just go. Now in this particular stage, the biometrics that you're going to be farming are Kingpin. If there is a particular character on some of these other stages that you really need for them specifically, like let's say you're trying to get Venom to level 80, you're actually going to save bios, even though it takes a lot longer to farm 3-3. You're going to save bios because if you're using this to get Venom from 70 to 80, it takes less bios if you're using the same character, the matching character. So obviously, same thing goes for Spider-Man. If you're specifically trying to get some of these characters that are available for level 80, like Spider-Man and Wolverine, not Wolverine, Spider-Man and Venom and Hawkeye and Bullseye, if you're trying to get some of these characters specifically to level 80, then yeah, farming these stages, while they may take longer, as long as you don't die on the stage, the same rules apply, and you can just farm it all, over and over and over. But if you just need bulk bios, then 7-3 is your best bet because it's the fastest, shortest stage in the game. The second way to farm bulk bios is to go into the Dimension missions and do the Dimension mission contribution rewards in order to get these support tokens. Now, of course, that costs energy, so you have to debate with yourself and sort of do the math on how many of these you want to do, but they appear on every even number up to 6. After that, they do appear, but it's very, very low, so I do not recommend going for it. But yeah, 2, 4, and 6, they appear, and you get 6,500 tokens. I believe that those numbers might be higher because of my my level, my agent level. So if you have a lower agent level, you might not see as many tokens. No, it's the same amount. Okay, there you go. Yeah, at 45, it goes down, and then it goes up. So yeah, you get your agent level up to 70 to reap those rewards, and then you go into the support shop with those tokens, and you can buy character biometrics. So you can buy up to a certain amount. So as you can see here, I can buy 400 bios of MODOK. I can just do this now, and boom, I just grabbed 400 MODOK bios. And I can actually go ahead and do this as many times as I have tokens. Now, it's a lot of tokens, don't get me wrong. It's a lot of tokens. If you're farming, let's do the math really quickly. If you're farming those 6,500 every single day, that's 19.5. So if we take 54,000 and we divide it by 19.5, it's almost 3 days worth of tokens every time I get 400 bios. So you're going to run out. You're not going to be able to farm enough tokens to do this multiple times per day every single day. But you can probably do it, once a day if you have a surplus of tokens. And if you have 0 tokens, then yeah, twice a week, you'll be able to come in here and grab bios. And again, you can grab just indiscriminate bios, but if you're trying to get a specific character to level 80, like Captain America, like Iron Man, like Ghost Rider, Spider-Man, etc., you should pick up their bios specifically. because it's going to cost you less of the bios to get them from 70 to 80 versus if you were just burning somebody else's bios like poor Groot here or poor Ultron. So keep that in mind. Obviously, uniform bios have to be specific to the character, but otherwise, if you're just doing native tier 2s, native tier 3s, it doesn't matter. You can just chuck 10,000 Whiplash bios into the wood chipper and you're all good. Now here we're at the crafting stage where you can craft by sacrificing gold and sacrificing some low-level materials. In this case for X Genes, it's Mcron shards and gear up kits, or it's Norn stones and gear up kits of the respective color. You can go in here and you be careful, 15 million gold. You can farm bios this way. This is a more expensive way of farming bios, and it's also slower. Like, you can imagine going through this animation 40 times to match the 400 MODOK bios. The 400 MODOK bios was just one animation, boom, and it was done. I'm gonna have to go, and I have to set this to 400. You can see how long this is going to take, and then you have to press it and watch it, go over and over and over again. You can press skip, but it doesn't skip the whole thing. It just skips the individual ones, but you're still gonna have to sit through this animation and sit through all those orange circles. So while this can be a way to get certain characters' bios, and it has some advantages because some of the bios cannot be crafted through the support shop in the Dimension Mission tab, for example, like these mutant bios, you can't get them there. So it can have some certain advantages, but you have to be careful of your resource pools and what you have left. Just keep in mind that the X Gene, for the X Gene 1, the Mcron shards have a cap of 6,000. So if you're close to the cap and you don't have to worry about how many gear up kits you have, then you can certainly farm that and craft a lot of bios that way to get certain X-Men materials, and have more of their bios specific. Shadowland is one of the only game modes where you're going to be getting free biometrics without having to do anything other than use characters and a little bit of your time in game, but there's no sacrifice of gold or resources or energy. And every single week you're going to be able to farm these biometric rewards on stage 5, stage 10, stage 15, and stage 32. So every player should be aiming to collect all of those because you get a 60, a 75, a 90, and a 150 bio selector just for getting to those stage tiers, right? Those kind of milestones of 5, 10, 15, and 32. And the first 3, 5, 10, and 15 can be completed by players within 30 days of starting a brand new account. So this is a very, very easy way. It's a much smaller amount of bios because it's only like about 300 bios, and it's only available once a week, so it's much, much slower, but it is completely free, and it does allow you to pick up, in some cases, even new characters. And of course, it brings you to this page where you can choose the bios. So you do get some flexibility there, and of course, you have no sacrifice or no cost associated with getting those biometrics and farming them. Legendary battle, where you have a chance when you get a completion chest, and of course the chance goes up as you get higher ranking completion chests from normal rarity up to mythic. You can see there the chance to get biometrics for certain characters is available. So this is a way 5 times a day where you can get just a few biometrics. I believe it's about 4 or 5 on a regular roll, and then if you get a crit roll, it's 50 bios. So this is a very, very low amount of bios. It's probably only like 1 or 2 bios on average because you're not guaranteed to get bios in every single chest, and you can only open 5 chests a day. But again, if you're really desperate to farm as many bios as possible, just, indiscriminately, then just jump into whichever legendary battle. Doesn't have to be extreme mode. Whichever legendary battle you have the highest rarity for, or go down to the Ragnarok one where the rarity is not necessarily tied to having a uniform for a character, or maybe it is tied to having a uniform for a character, but it is quite fast. And then farm biometrics that way. The next place where you can farm biometrics is in Timeline Battle at the Glory Token Shop. So if you get some Glory tokens, and then you go over to the token shop and you scroll down, you will see that there are some biometrics for limited characters available here. Once upon a time, this was the only way, or one of the only ways, to unlock these characters. Not so anymore. Very expensive in the sense of the amount of Glory tokens that you farm is very slow. You don't farm that many per day, per week. And so this is not a very good farm of biometrics. But again, if you're really desperate for bios and you have a lot of these tokens Keep in mind they cap at 60,000, so you want to make sure you're spending them on something. If you're not voting in Timeline Battle, if you're not picking up the Phoenix Feathers to craft, or if you're not opening the Glory Chests for Uru and cards, then this is a place to get biometrics. While mostly known for farming gold, Multiverse Invasion can also be a place where you can farm bios, although there is RNG involved. There are 2 ways to get biometrics from Multiverse Invasion rewards. The first one is from the basic rewards chest. Now this can feature a multitude of different items, so you have a low chance of getting biometrics, but it is still free. You don't have to cost, it doesn't cost any energy. It just costs you a little bit of time, 10 minutes a day on average, or maybe 15 with loading screens. And so this is a place where you can get bios. You have an additional specific dedicated bio drop reward role for VIP 15 plus, but that's an insane amount of money to spend for that. So it's more of just like an auxiliary proxy benefit, not why you would spend to get to that, because the rewards are not even that good in the long term. While not a huge source of biometrics, Alliance Battle is another source of consistent biometrics that also doesn't cost you any energy or gold or resources. Now, their biometrics are only available in Alliance Battle Normal, but that is by far the easiest one to do. You only need to get 36,000 points to secure those 25 biometrics. Because of the reset that happens once a week, you're actually able to play Alliance Battle Normal 8 times per week, which means you're able to get an extra 200 biometrics just by playing this little game mode. Another quirky place where you can find biometrics for characters is the Dispatch Mission Dispatch Shop. Now, you're going to primarily buy them for gold and sometimes tokens. I would honestly recommend not getting them for tokens because the tokens are valuable for re-rolling, but when they are available for gold, it is a very easy buy as long as you have a surplus of gold. But again, this is a situation where you're sort of trading one resource for another, so it really depends on what your account looks like. But yeah, on average, in general, I would say skip the ones, even though they're tempting, because the tokens are much more valuable as a reroll option for the shop rewards than to buy the biometrics. The other ways to farm bios are, of course, all of the dedicated game modes that you can farm daily that either have a cap or don't have a cap, and drop biometrics through strikers, or drop biometrics through just dedicated stages of, different characters from different epic quests, and have limits there. So of course you can farm all of these to get 10 bios a day, but this is going to cost you energy. It's going to cost you clear tickets. This is very straightforward. You're introduced to this way of farming bios from the beginning. This is not necessarily the fastest or the most efficient way of doing it, but it is still very, very consistent. And if you need a very large amount of biometrics, then I highly recommend that you do all of these every single day, because it does amount to a lot of biometrics, right? For just 2 epic quests that we've shown in this video, we've already looked at, almost 50 or more bios that you can farm guaranteed, because you have 10 per day from these missions here for Human Torch and Thing, or Bullseye, and I think it's Scorpion. And then you also have the 3 bios that you can get from strikers in those striker missions, which is another 6 per epic quest, which is another 12. And there are multiple epic quests that allow this, and so it's really good to do so. You just have to obviously gauge, your energy stores, how much energy you have, what you want to spend it on. If you'd rather be farming 7-3, for example, it's probably going to net you more bios on average. But again, it's something to consider, depending on how many bios you really need. Last but not least, I want to mention Multiverse Saga, just because a lot of people forget that you can farm biometrics here. And even if you don't pay for Franklin, you still can unlock and should unlock the Valeria Richards stage and climb up from difficulty 1, which has lower, worse rewards, up to difficulty 5, and then farm those rewards, because you can get a ton. As you can see here, I've already amassed over 5,700 bios for this character, because you're able to farm it every single day like a deluxe pack epic quest character to get mad bios for that. Let's not forget as well the free hero chest. This gives you a selector for one of the 4 types of characters. You can pick this up every single day or more than once a day if you have a VIP level, and these can roll anywhere from, I believe, 12 or 24 biometrics, but you have a range of roll, so it can go all the way up to, I believe, 128. So again, while it is a bit inconsistent with the number, you can get anywhere from 20 to 120 bios every single day, absolutely for free. So don't miss out on that. And then, of course, not covered in this video are any other limited time events that allow you to pick up bios for one reason or another. For those, you'll have to refer to the dedicated videos to describe them, or guides online that are written by players who engage in them. but those are pretty straightforward, and they'll tell you, you know, hey, this biometric selector is available, or these bios for this character is available. And so those are pretty straightforward. So that's pretty much as close to an exhaustive list as I can get for the sort of best to worst, or best, fastest to slowest ways of farming as many biometrics as possible. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. Smash the like button and leave a comment down below if it was. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.